Brick and stonework preservation. One of the first things we need to know when working on old masonry is the material's age or the age of the structure. This is of great importance as the correct material needs to be sourced. For example, the aggregate needs to match the existing mortar's aggregate so it has the same properties as the original mortar. Let's say the aggregate was a granite grit sand with fine ground cinder added, then you need to reproduce this for your mortar. The type of lime is also very important when producing your mortar. NHL, natural hydraulic lime, is a chemical set lime that is still very slow at setting and requires compacting and cherishing the same as a quicklime mortar. Quicklime is an air-setting lime and has no chemical set, so extra care need to be taken to prevent premature drying out. On historical masonry, quicklime in the form of a putty or a hot lime mix is the most common lime added to aggregates to form mortars and plasters. Bricks, stone, and terracotta replacement. It is also very important to source the correct masonry replacement parts for the project. Reclamation bricks that are of the same manufacturer the original bricks in the structure is sometimes possible. For example, an Accrington stock brick is sourced quite easily from salvage yards. Sandstone can be difficult to obtain, however salvage stone or new stone is 9 times out of 10 acceptable. Terracotta can in some cases be remanufactured to replace eroded or damaged parts. Handmade bricks can also be reproduced when no salvage bricks can be sourced. Victorian, Edwardian, and indeed Georgian structures all need special repair and maintenance. Why do old structures need specialist repairs and maintenance? Masonry at one point was produced much softer than today, so it is more vulnerable when it comes to hard Portland cement-based mortar. Modern bricks are fired to a much higher temperature and are a lot harder. Again, softer sandstone is vulnerable and cannot withstand the destructive properties of a Portland cement mortar. The only product you need for historical masonry, or indeed any masonry pre-dating the 1960s, is a quicklime-based mortar. So why is Portland cement-based mortar so destructive? To simplify it, cement is a good 75% or so harder than lime. It is also a water-repelling material. So its hard and water-repelling properties are the opposite of what older masonry requires. The brickwork that is being replaced in this video was damaged at some point and needed replacing as part of ongoing restoration works. The structure was first erected in 1864 and was known as the Trawlboat Inn. You can see the craftsman laying the bricks in the same bond as the original. He is laying the bricks with a lime mortar. This contains absolutely no Portland cement. The structure has no cavity, it is a solid 15-inch wall and has no damp course. The lime mortar will let the water vapor in the masonry to escape into the environment, thus allowing the masonry to naturally dry out. Lime plastering to the internal walls is also very important to this type of structure. Gypsum-based plaster is also a no-no when it comes to older structures, as it stops the natural ability of the masonry to dry out. So when undertaking preservation on older structures, you need nothing more than natural lime mortar. Modern materials on older structures is simply no good. Lime plastering to older structures is expensive to produce, however when it comes to undertaking the correct repairs, it's a must. What is lime plaster? Lime plaster is a lime-based material that contains no gypsum or Portland cement. It is a combination of quicklime and sand, with animal hair added to bind it together. The application process is different too. A 3-coat system is required, starting with the cracking coat or the scratch coat. A float coat is next applied. This is then left to completely dry out, generally around 2 weeks. Scratches are applied to the float coat with a devil float to help the finishing coat stick to the float coat. The finishing coat is applied after rehydrating the float coat. The finish is a fine sand and lime putty combination. Working the putty finish is totally different from modern finishes. Now we will talk about stonework refacing. Eroded sandstone is a problem, however it can be refaced with lime-based mortar, containing earth pigments. Preparation of the surface is extremely important as the new surface will fail if the surface it is applied to is crumbling. Cutting back to rotting stone either with a chisel or a mechanical cutter will help to preserve the stonework as well as help the mortar stick. We will go into depth another time on how to repair stonework by refacing. It's not all about bricks, stone, mortar and dust. Sometimes as a restorer has to undertake a little bit of metal work, as in these clock hands dating back to 1800s. The craftsman had the task of re-gilding them with gold leaf. Also he had to strip many years of paint off the cast iron clock face, then repaint it with a special metal paint. The clock was made by Potts Clocks of Leeds back in 1879. Becker is demonstrating just how big the clock actually is. The clock is one of 3 in the bell tower of a church. Repointing with lime mortar is a specialist job, and not something your general builder will undertake. It involves a lot more work than repointing with a Portland cement mortar. Let's take a look at lime mortar repointing and see just how different it is compared to modern repointing. The first step is the preparation of the existing mortar bedding. It needs to be raked out to a depth of 25 mm and cut square to the brickwork. Every bit of dust has to be removed from the cut bedding joints, then a good soaking with clean water needs to take place. Now comes the non-standard bit. After applying the lime mortar to the bedding joints, 3 stages take place. First, the mortar needs to be compacted. We do this with a churning brush by hitting the brush against the mortar joint. However, the mortar needs to be quite firm before this takes place. The next stage is to cover the masonry you are repointing with hessian sheeting. We call this cherishing. The compacted mortar can be left as it is or it can be struck with a trowel or a wooden stick, depending on the finish required. The last stage is the tending of the fresh lime mortar repointing. This involves keeping the cherishing sheets damp for around 2 weeks. From a church to a country house, a cottage to a Victorian townhouse, the specialist craftsman works his way through the many years of poor quality or perhaps inappropriate repairs. One by one he removes the Portland cement, the gypsum plaster, the paint and replaces it with natural lime-based products. He knows what the structure needs, what tools are needed, what materials are needed and how to work them. The knowledge of the craftsman is vast. He has many skills and many years of preserving historical structures. All in all, the true artisan craftsman is keeping the structures of the past in a good state of repair for the next generations to come. The bricks, the carved stone, the terracotta, and indeed the lime plastering all needs to be maintained and repaired with the correct materials and the correct methods of application. Never be fooled into thinking that all your building needs is modernizing with modern materials when it comes to the brick and stone masonry. As you have seen in this short production, plaster work on structure predating the 1960s needs to be lime-based to let water vapor pass through to the great outdoors. Again in the film we can see the craftsman removing some damaged brickwork and getting it ready for reinstating. He won't be relaying the bricks with Portland cement mortar. No, he will be doing the job properly with a quicklime mortar. The new mortar is permeable and is better for the brick. Lime or quicklime mortar is a lot softer than modern cement-based mortar, and it needs to be, as the Victorian bricks he is laying are very soft. Rule of thumb is that your mortar is softer than your masonry. It's sacrificial and can be replaced. However, replacing the masonry is a lot more difficult than replacing a tad of pointing. So remember, if you're thinking about repointing your building or even your boundary wall and it's constructed with lime, you need to repoint it with lime. Cement or Portland cement is by no means a modern invention. It's older than you may think. In fact, it dates back to 1824. A bricklayer from Leeds in Yorkshire, England invented it. Joseph Aspdin was his name, just a humble brickie. He sold his new invention from a yard at the back of his home and made a bob or two from it. In 1845, Isaac Johnson fired the stone to a higher temperature and introduced a newer version of the Portland cement. This is now the cement you can purchase today. The new cement, however, was not the material of choice for the bricklayers and stonemasons of the time, as it was recognized to be too hard and brittle. Cement was reserved for civil projects like the London sewerage system built by Barceljet after the Great Stink. It was not until the late 1960s that cement-based mortar was the main choice of the house builder. Cement had replaced lime-based mortar as it sets within 24 hours, thus speeding up the process of construction. Even the plaster work was being replaced with gypsum and cement-based mortar. The first plaster boards had a lime and gypsum finish applied to them, and the floats in some cases had a combination of lime, sand and cement, although some builders of the old order still insisted on lime. In today's world, the Portland cement is in every structure that man is constructing, from a road to a skyscraper, a hospital to a schoolhouse. Yep, Joseph Aspdin back in 1824 probably never thought that he had invented the future and shaped the modern world we know today.
Your host tonight was Abby. She is an AI being and hopes that you enjoyed the production. If you did, then feel free to subscribe to the channel, and please hit that like button, as it helps grow the channel. The guy in the background is Lord Dust from England. He is an artisan craftsman who fixes up them old British castles and churches. You have to love the guy and the way he messes about with old buildings. If you're from the United States like me, then subscribe to this guy's channel and see how they go about fixing stuff in little old England. See you all next time for more fun with Lord Dust. Have a nice day.